My wife whispered at dinner. "I'm in love with someone else." I said, "Good to know." Then I cashed out her retirement fund I controlled and moved out overnight. Next morning, her new man called, begging me for help. I'm 42 male, a numbers guy. I'm a financial advisor. I look at life like a balance sheet, assets, liabilities, projections. For 15 years, my wife, Jacqueline, 40, was firmly in the asset column. We weren't a rom-com, but we were solid, a partnership. We had a comfortable life, built methodically. Last Tuesday, we went to our favorite Italian place, the one with the checkered tablecloths. Halfway through the calamari, she puts her fork down. She's looking at her hands, not me. "Arthur," she says, her voice quiet, "I have to tell you something. I'm in love with someone else." I didn't feel a crash. I didn't feel a bang. It was more like a quiet click, the sound of a final entry being logged. I took a sip of water. I looked at her, really looked at her. She seemed relieved, almost expectant, like she'd just confessed to buying a pricey handbag and was waiting for me to sigh and pull out my wallet. "Good to know," I said. The relief on her face curdled into confusion. "That's it? Good to know? What else is there to say, Jacqueline? You've made a new investment in your emotional portfolio. I'm just acknowledging the transaction." She stared at me. I think she wanted a fight. Tears. Something dramatic. I just finished my calamari. The waiter came. I ordered the veal parmesan. She just picked at her salad. The rest of dinner was silent. When we got home, she went to the guest room, said she needed space to think. I told her to take all the space she needed, and I meant it. Here's a crucial detail. When Jacqueline left her old marketing job, about 8 years ago, she had a decent 401k. She had no idea what to do with it. I, being the numbers guy, advised her to roll it into a self-directed IRA. To save on management fees and streamline our finances, she signed a durable power of attorney for that specific account, giving me full authority to manage the funds. It was my job, after all. Over the years, I'd grown it from around 80 Kellas to just over $212,000. It was her nest egg. Our future, or so I thought. While she was having her space in the guest room, I was in my home office. I logged into the brokerage account. Click. Submit sell order for all assets. The market was closed, so the orders would execute at opening bell. Then the second step. Click. Q wire transfer for full cash balance upon settlement. The destination account was a new one in my name only, opened a month prior after I started noticing the late-night texts and the vague out-with-friends evenings. I planned for contingencies. I knew it wouldn't be instant. The stock sales would take a day to execute and another 2 business days to settle, T+2, in industry speak. The wire would go through on day 3. I had a small window before the money was truly gone but irrevocably in motion. I packed 2 suitcases, my clothes, my work documents, my laptop, the things that were unequivocally mine. I walked through the house we'd built together. I didn't feel sad. I felt efficient. I left her the house for now, the furniture, the joint checking account with about $7,000 in it, and a note on the kitchen counter. "Jacqueline, as per our conversation, you are moving on, so am I. I have initiated the liquidation of your IRA. The funds, a marital asset, will be held for equitable division during the divorce proceedings which my lawyer will initiate. He will be in touch. Arthur." I was at a hotel by 2 a.m. I didn't sleep well. The calm was a mask I was wearing for myself. Underneath, there was a cold, churning anger, not just at the betrayal but at the sheer stupidity of it. The gall. Nothing happened Wednesday. Nothing Thursday. I spent the time meeting with my lawyer, Christian, getting the divorce filing ready. I watched the sell orders execute on my laptop. The money was now cash, sitting in the IRA, waiting for the settlement period to end. Friday morning, my phone rang at 8:15 a.m. Unknown number. This was it. The funds would have been wired out first thing in the morning. I answered, "Hello. Arthur, it's Terry." It took me a second. Terry, the artist she'd been taking a pottery class with. Of course. "Hello, Terry," I said, my voice even. "Hey man, look, this is awkward. Jacqueline's kind of a wreck. She's trying to transfer some money and the account is empty. She's saying you took it all?" He sounded genuinely confused, like a kid asking why the vending machine ate his dollar. "I secured a marital asset, yes. The process was initiated Tuesday night." Right, but she can't, pay for anything. She was trying to get a cashier's check. She said it was her retirement money. She needs some of it. for, stuff. I almost laughed. The audacity. Stuff. He called me the husband she just left to ask for money for her. Is that so? I said calmly. Yeah, man. She's talking about how they were going to use that money to, invest in my studio space. It was part of our plan. Our plan. The word echoed in my head. They had a business plan funded by my work and her name. Terry, I said, my voice dropping a little, let me give you some free financial advice. When you hitch your wagon to someone, you should probably make sure the wagon has wheels, and that you didn't just help them slash the tires of the one person who knew how to fix them. I hung up. 2 minutes later, my phone exploded with texts from Jacqueline. A long stream of pure, unfiltered rage, ending with, "You will not do this to me, Arthur. I will destroy you." I just blocked her number and started sipping my coffee. The numbers were all logged. The balance sheet was clear. Now came the audit. Update. Hey everyone. Thanks for the continued support. It's been grounding. Things have escalated, just as I projected they would. When you disrupt an ecosystem built on entitlement, the creatures within it don't adapt, they lash out. My lawyer, Christian, is a shark. He filed the divorce papers and immediately sent Jacqueline's new lawyer a statement showing the $212,000 was being held in a dedicated escrow account, pending court-ordered distribution. He made it clear my use of the POA was to prevent the dissipation of a marital asset, a direct response to her stated intention to leave the marriage for another man who, by his own admission, was planning to use those funds. Jacqueline and Terry's first move was to try a direct confrontation. I was in my hotel room when my phone rang. The front desk. "Mr. Price, your wife is here in the lobby to see you." I paused. How? Then it hit me. In my methodical departure, I'd overlooked one detail. The hotel was booked on my primary credit card, the one Jacqueline was still an authorized user on. A rookie mistake. She must have seen the charge on the online portal. It made me feel human, and I hated it. "Tell her I'll be down in a moment," I said. I called Christian first. He told me not to engage, say nothing, and leave. I went down to the lobby. Jacqueline's face was blotchy, her eyes red. Terry had his arm around her, but he was looking at me. That look of a guy who sees his meal ticket about to walk out the door. "Arthur, you can't just hide from me." Jacqueline's voice was too loud for the quiet lobby. I just kept walking towards the exit. "There's nothing to discuss." Jacqueline talked to Christian. Terry stepped forward. "Hey, come on, man. Let's be reasonable. You're hurting her. You're hurting us." The entitlement was breathtaking. He said us like it was a registered corporation. "You are hurting her, Terry," I said, turning to face him. "You're the one who convinced her to detonate a 15-year marriage, assuming you'd get a 6-figure payout for your little adventure. That was a bad bet." Jacqueline started sobbing. "It wasn't like that. I was going to tell you. We were going to do this amicably. You didn't have to be so cruel, so scorched earth." This is where the first real dirty trick came in. "I loved you, Arthur," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "But you were always so cold, so obsessed with money. You were never present. You drove me to this." A few people in the lobby were watching now. She was putting on a full-blown soap opera. The jilted, heartbroken wife and the cruel, money-obsessed husband. Terry nodded along, patting her shoulder like a loyal stagehand. I just stood there. I let her finish. Then I looked at her, my voice low and steady. "You whispered that you were in love with another man over a plate of calamari, Jacqueline. You didn't mention being unhappy. You didn't suggest counseling. You announced a business decision. I've simply responded in kind. Now, if you'll excuse me." I walked out. As the doors slid shut behind me, I saw Terry looking at Jacqueline, his comforting expression gone, replaced by one of pure frustration. The performance hadn't worked. The next day, Christian got a letter from her new lawyer. They were accusing me of financial abuse, claiming I'd manipulated her into signing the POA years ago with the intent of one day seizing her assets. They demanded the immediate return of the full $212,000 plus damages for emotional distress. But the real escalation? I got a call from my boss. Jacqueline had emailed my managing partner. She'd written a long, rambling sob story about how I was a financial predator, how I'd stolen her life savings, and how the firm should be aware they employ such a vindictive, unstable man. She was trying to get me fired. That was a mistake. My firm values two things: money and discretion. I was immediately called into a meeting. I laid out the facts, calmly. I provided a copy of the POA, a timeline of events, and the email from my lawyer to hers showing the funds were legally secured in an escrow account. I didn't get emotional. I presented it as a hostile takeover attempt of a personal asset that I had preemptively blocked. They backed me 100%. In fact, my boss told me to take an extra week of paid leave to get my affairs in order. Jacqueline's attempt to sever my financial lifeline had only strengthened my position at work. She was demonstrating exactly the kind of irrational behavior that justified my actions in the first place. Update. The past couple of months have been a slow grind of legal maneuvering. The entitlement has shifted from loud and dramatic to sneaky and procedural. They're trying to bleed me, and the house became their primary weapon. The mortgage is in both our names. I had continued to pay my half, but I received a notice from the bank that the other half was 2 months in arrears. Jacqueline was letting it slip towards default, assuming I'd panic about my credit and cover the full amount. My first instinct was to do just that. A credit score is a measure of reliability. I hated the idea of it being damaged. But when I talked to Christian, he had a different idea. "Don't pay it," he said. "Don't let it default either." We go on the offensive. Instead of letting our credit burn, Christian filed an emergency motion with the family court. In it, we requested 2 things. First, to force the immediate sale of the property. Second, and this was the masterstroke, we asked that Jacqueline, as the sole party benefiting from living in the house, be held responsible for 100% of the carrying costs, mortgage, taxes, insurance, until it was sold. The panic that induced was magnificent. Her lawyer called Christian, sputtering about how she couldn't possibly afford that. Christian calmly replied, "Then she should agree to sell immediately, so she is no longer burdened by the expense." Checkmate. But desperation breeds stupidity. And their next move was a monumental act of it. I have a small but valuable collection of vintage synthesizers. I've been collecting and restoring them since I was 20. They're my one real passion outside of spreadsheets. They were stored in a climate-controlled unit, a unit Jacqueline knew about. I got a call from the storage facility manager. There'd been an incident. Terry, accompanied by Jacqueline, had shown up. Jacqueline had spun a story for the New Weekend about a kid who looked barely 20. She claimed she was my wife, true. We were moving, and I'd sent her and her brother, Terry, to pick up my old keyboards because she had the key but had forgotten the gate code. The kid, trying to be helpful, let them in. They didn't cut the lock. She still had a key to the unit I'd given her ages ago and forgotten about. They loaded my 3 most valuable pieces, a vintage Minimoog, a Sequential Circuits Prophet 5, and a Roland Jupiter 8, into Terry's van. Total value around $30,000. They stole from me. Outright theft. This is where my calm, collected approach almost broke. That was a line. I felt a hot, white flash of anger. But then, the numbers guy took back over. Emotion is a liability. I breathed. I made a plan. I didn't call her. I didn't call him. I called the police. I filed a full police report, complete with serial numbers, photos, and recent appraisal documents. I gave them the storage facility's security footage, which clearly showed Terry carrying my property out while Jacqueline directed him. I gave them his name and Jacqueline's. It was no longer a messy divorce. It was grand larceny. Terry, the free-spirited artist, suddenly found himself staring down a felony charge. He called me. This time there was no "hey man" camaraderie. It was pure, pants-wetting panic. "You called the cops? On me? On Jacqueline? Are you insane?" he shrieked into the phone. "You stole $30,000 worth of my property, Terry. What did you think was going to happen?" "It was a misunderstanding. We were just going to hold them to make you be reasonable about the IRA money. Jacqueline said they were half hers anyway." "They are not marital property, Terry. They are premarital assets, fully documented. You committed a crime, and you dragged her into it." He was breathing hard. "You have to call them off, Arthur. Please, this will ruin me. I can't have a record. We'll bring them back. They're at my apartment right now. They're fine." "No." "What do you mean, no?" "We'll give them back. The time for that is over. You wanted to play hardball. Now you're playing with the pros. Talk to the police, Terry. And I'd advise you to get a much, much better lawyer." I hung up. They thought my quiet nature was weakness. They mistook my methodical approach for passivity. They don't know that the quietest numbers can often tell the most brutal stories. And their balance sheet was about to go deep into the red. Final update. It's over. The last few months were a slow-motion demolition, and I just held the camera. The criminal charges were the lever that moved the whole world. Faced with a felony, Terry crumbled. His public defender told him he had no case. He agreed to return the synthesizers, which he did, under police supervision, and testify against Jacqueline in exchange for the charges being reduced to a misdemeanor. The great artist, the passionate lover, revealed himself to be just another coward. Jacqueline was left holding the bag. She ended up with 2 years of probation, a hefty fine, and a criminal record for her part in the theft. This development completely changed the divorce proceedings. We had our first and only settlement hearing. The judge was initially skeptical of my opening move with the IRA, and her lawyer tried to paint me as a financial bully. The judge even gave Christian a hard time about the aggressive nature of using the POA. For a moment, a cold dread washed over me. What if my strategy backfired? But then Christian presented his timeline. He started with Terry's phone call, where he admitted they had a plan for the money. He showed the emails to my boss, and he ended by placing the official court document detailing Jacqueline's conviction for theft on the table. The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. The judge looked from the conviction to Jacqueline, and his expression hardened. Her claims of being a victim evaporated. She was now on the record, a criminal who had stolen from me during the divorce process. Her leverage was gone. We settled that day. Christian was a killer. The house, it was sold. After paying off the mortgage, the court approved our motion to have the 2 missed payments and associated penalties deducted entirely from her share of the equity. The IRA, this was the big one. The judge ruled it a marital asset, but he also ruled that Jacqueline's conduct, her attempt to get me fired, and the outright theft was egregious. He awarded me a larger portion of the legal fees to be paid from her share of the marital assets. Her final take from the $212 she thought was hers to play with? After her legal fees, my awarded legal fees, and the fine for the theft were deducted, she netted just under $58,000. She detonated her life for the price of a mid-range sedan. The aftermath. The last I heard from a mutual acquaintance is that Jacqueline is living in a small apartment across town. Terry is long gone. Their grand romance, built on the foundation of my money, collapsed the second the money disappeared. Jacqueline had to get a job. She's doing entry-level marketing for a small firm. She's broke, she's alone, and she's a convicted criminal. I got one final email from her about a month ago. It wasn't apologetic, it wasn't hateful. It was pathetic. She asked if I could lend her $5,000 to cover a deposit and first month's rent on a better place. She said she deserved at least that for the years she gave me. The entitlement, it seems, is the last thing to die. I didn't reply. I just added the email to the file I'd labeled contingencies, and then I deleted it. As for me, I'm good. Better than good. I bought a new condo downtown. The credit score took a small, temporary hit from the credit card inquiries and shifting debt ratios, but it's already recovering. My synthesizers are set up in the spare bedroom, and I've been making more music than I have in years. The ordeal cost me money and headaches, but it bought my freedom. It showed me that my calm, methodical nature isn't a bug, it's a feature. I don't feel vengeful or triumphant. I just feel balanced. The books are closed, the numbers all add up. I didn't destroy her life. I just stopped financing a life that didn't include me. She, and she alone, was responsible for the demolition. She just expected me to pay for it. But I'm a numbers guy, and that was one expense I was never going to approve.